offense, defense. It was my contention watching these games over the weekend. The defense is way, way ahead of the offenses. And I don't know if it's the coaching, the players, the quarterbacks that are here.
The weather.
The weather, obviously a big factor. Just you saw the snow on the ground. We're watching right now the highlights of that incredible overtime thriller between the Chicago Bears and the Rams. That was an awesome game. Caleb Williams had a play for the ages. It seems like he's pulling this horseshoe assisted whatever out of his you-know-what on some of the biggest plays of their season, that throw into the end zone. Just incredible yesterday. And you said that, a week ago, but
how about Ben Johnson walking in there and fixing him, right? Because it felt like his rookie year, he was broke, right? And so if you're the Tennessee Titans right now who are looking for a head coach, I think you have to look to the Bears as a little bit of a blueprint of a rookie quarterback who had a rough NFL debut, and you want to pair him with the right coach that's going to get him turned around. What a job Ben Johnson and his staff did with Caleb Williams. You're right. That throw at the end of the game, I mean, it was a Shedeur Sanders type of a play where he's just running.
We saw a lot of that, by the way, this weekend. Guys running backwards.
Running backwards away from the line of scrimmage, throws it basically on his back foot, heaves it toward the end zone, and just happened to find his guy. And I
gave his guy a chance, is what he did.
I know, and I'm sitting there in my recliner watching that, and I obviously can't repeat what I said when I saw the play, but I just was like, man, the Bears are just such a charmed team. They're going to win this thing in overtime in advance, and then Caleb Williams had not such a great play after converting that 4th and 1. He goes off of left guard there instead of doing just straight up. Behind the center, he goes off left guard, picks up the first down, converts it, and then just throws a tough pick there. He was expecting his receiver to slide down and make a diving catch, and the defensive back beat him there and picked it off. And
was that DJ Moore?
Yeah, and then
he totally quit on it.
Yeah, and
still, I don't know the likelihood that he completes that, but still, it didn't help. His receiver just totally bailed on it.
Right, and then the Rams are able to work their way down into to kick the game-winning field goal.
Do you have a problem with them not going for 2 when they had gone for every 4th down? Basically, the last 8 weeks, that's all the Bears do is go for every 4th down.
Well, they did it last night. I think they were like 3 for 5 or 3 for 6 on 4th down. It was just incredible.
But they didn't go for the win with 18 seconds left for 2.
Goals. That's the thing. Like, they had a couple where they could have kicked the field goals, and I understand the field was frozen and there was some snow, and I get that, but they left points on the board in that case. I wonder... This is a new trend in the NFL now, too, in recent years, where they're not taking the 3 points. And I realize that there's no such thing as free points with kickers these days, even though
you got some kickers that can kick it from 70.
Yeah, they're bombing 65-yard kicks with ease. But I wonder if there's going to be a shift back now to taking points on 4th down when you're in field goal range rather than going for – I get when you're in goal-to-go situations. Kevin Stefanski was famous for that, right? How many times did we bicker because Kevin wasn't taking those short field goals when they were in goal-to-go situations on 4th down, and they weren't converting, right? They weren't getting the touchdowns. They weren't able to get, I guess, a penalty to give them a fresh set of downs or anything like that. They'd walk away with no points instead of the 3. And I kind of feel like in 2 of those situations, had Chicago taken the points there,
would they have won the game?
They would have won the game.
That is incredible. I mean, when Stefanski came in, he was kind of riding that wave of, in the analytics community, going for it more and more and more. And the Browns went for it as much as any team really over the 6 years. So
who's real big into analytics? First thing he said after being hired by the New York Football Giants, we're going to beef up the analytics department.
Harbaugh?
Yeah. First thing, because they
have in Baltimore they had a pretty robust department. So,
and that's why when Browns fans would go nuts over the analytics, and look, I realize at times I did as well, but most of the time it was sarcasm intended. It does help teams win games, and that was one of the good things that Paul DePodesta did here was he gave the Browns the infrastructure to be able to gather that information, right? It's just sometimes the application is off when you don't have the players available to execute. Going for it on 4th and 2 or going for 2 is all well and good, but when you have a rookie quarterback and rookie receivers and rookie running backs,
you got to take that into consideration.
And you're 7 deep at offensive tackle, you might want to take that into consideration as to whether or not you're going for 2.
I laugh. I think it was ESPN's coverage over the weekend where they had a next gen real time on any 4th down, whether or not you should go or not, and on the screen it just would always be go.
Right.
So I don't know how much analytics we even need anymore. They're basically just saying go for every 4th down if it's 2 yards or less.
Well, I'm waiting for AI to take it over, right?
That's kind of seems like what it's done. So Daryl is in for Kennedy, and I asked a question going to break. Offense or defense, it seems like all these teams just interview so many offensive guys. And I don't know. I used to think that way all the time, and now I'm not so sure. Although, we've had one of the better defensive coordinators in all the NFL running one of the better schemes, and it helps when you have Myles Garrett, the best defensive player in the NFL. But Daryl, they've interviewed, obviously, Schwartz a couple of times, but essentially everybody else is offense.
Well, they want to talk to Jesse Minter.
And Minter, yes.
The Chargers defensive coordinator. And then also, too, Adden Dirty, the Seahawks defensive coordinator. Now, I don't think that they've put in a request for a second interview with him. I mean, you might as well. I mean, you're interviewing everyone else a second time, it feels like. Dan Pitcher, it wouldn't shock me if they put in a request to speak to him a second time. I don't necessarily think
so I figured
he's completely out of it
yet.
I
figured we were done with him.
Tommy Rees, they're done with Tommy Rees, I think. I think Tommy's going to end up in Atlanta with Kevin Stefanski, and they're not going to talk. Mary Kay Cabot actually, I think, reported on Friday that they have no intention of talking to Tommy Rees a second time. So of the 9 that are still technically alive, actually it's 8 because I'm going to cross Tommy Rees off that list. So we're down
Get
to
him out of there.
We're down to the elite 8 of the Browns coaching search, and 3 of those are defensive guys. The other 5, or I should say 4 of those 5 that remain are of the young and upcoming offensive coordinator. The 5th guy, of course, is Ravens OC Todd Monken, who was here back in 2019 under Freddie Kitchens.
Okay, so with all of that said, do you think it has to be an offensive guy?
Yes, because the offense is in shambles right now. You need somebody to put Humpty Dumpty back together.
So that has to come in the form of a head coach. It cannot be an offensive coordinator.
Well, so here's the fun thing about these coaching interviews, right? A lot of times you're not only interviewing for head coach, but you might be interviewing for a coordinator job. Okay? So Todd Monken's really the only experienced offensive coordinator that they've talked to. Everybody else is a young up-and-comer. Now, here's the other issue is Grant Udinski of the Jaguars has the offensive coordinator title. Maybe you bring in Mike McDaniel.
Call the plays.
Yeah, maybe you bring in Mike McDaniel as the offensive coordinator. They're going to interview him this week. That's also part of the compliance with the Rooney Rule because the Browns, there's been some misinformation out there on social media. They have not complied with the Rooney Rule yet. So even with Jim Schwartz interviewing today, they couldn't hire him today. The Giants complied with the Rooney Rule almost immediately so that when John Harbaugh got serious about wanting to talk to teams, they were ready to pounce, and they were allowed to pounce.
By the way, no better time to talk about Rooney Rule and what the Browns are doing than MLK Day. We welcome everybody who's not at work today for MLK Day watching, but it is, you brought up a great point before the show that could be pretty telling when we will know if the Browns truly have their number one guy.
Yeah, because Rams pass game specialist Nate Schierhaus, who they want to talk to again, he's not available until January 26th after the NFC Championship to talk to him. And he would complete the compliance with the Rooney Rule as well. So be on the lookout this week for a minority candidate coming out of nowhere for an in-person interview. If, in fact, they've got their guy that, they got the eye on the guy they want. I did find it interesting. They did the 3-hour Zoom with Grant Udinski on Saturday, and then Sunday, boom, oh, we want to talk to him again. He might even be today, either today or tomorrow. They're going to talk to Grant Udinski in person as well. He's coming. He's either going to come to town or they got to go to Jacksonville to talk to him. I'd imagine they'd have him fly in. But, I just found it interesting that right away after talking to him on Saturday, he was one of the first that they wanted to do a second interview with.
Well, people all said he would blow people out of the water when it came to, just picking his brain and talking to him. Everybody raves about that. Now, who knows? Does that translate into being a good head coach in the NFL when you've never had any kind of responsibility to that level? Well, who knows?
Well, I kind of feel like going back to Andrew Berry and some of the things he said, because here's the thing with Andrew Berry that people have to really understand when it comes to the press conferences. Because we went through this with Kevin too, right? They don't really say anything in the press conference. I kind of disagree when it comes to Andrew Berry. If you really pay attention to what he's saying, he speaks in code a lot of times. But like when he talked about Kevin getting fired, he dropped the line, and this was after Jimmy Haslam said, we only won 8 games. That's unacceptable. Had to make a change, right? Then Andrew gets up there, and he says, we just didn't see the progress we needed independent of game results. He told you they fired Kevin because of other reasons not related to winning and losing games. Well, he also said here that they're looking for someone that fits in with their current state of team building, right? Well, current state of team building is offense needs to be rebuilt from the ground up.
Yeah.
And also, too, he also took a victory lap because not many teams interviewed Kevin Stefanski twice, right, back-to-back coaching cycles there, and they hired him, got 6 years and 2 Coach of the Years and 2 playoffs out of him, and I took that as we're looking for our next Sean McVay.